Hey, everybody. Welcome to Shit You Don't Know, the podcast where real life meets real talk. And we are your hosts, Dr. Beth Martin, and I'm Heather Matchett. We are a pharmacist and a nurse with over 40 years of experience and plenty of stories to share. We are diving into the life lessons, mistakes, and wish I'd known that moments that can change the course of your life. So join us for a mix of humor, heart, and helpful advice as we uncover the shit you don't know, your go-to guide for the shit that nobody fucking told you.
Hello, Heather.
Hello.
We survived graduation.
Yay. We survived the graduation. Praise the bejesus.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
It was very eventful on my end.
Was yours? Yes. Yeah, I guess yours was. Ours was pretty low key. I was surprised compared to the first one we did. It was pretty, low key. It was just low key, so that was good. That was fun.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. It wasn't too bad. It was just, always the constant scramble of, oh my God, people are going to be in my house. I have to do all these things that don't make any sense. And, yeah.
Yes.
So,
yes.
Like, all of that kind of crap, of course. And the only person who came was, like, my best friend who literally doesn't give a single shit what my house looks like. And so I don't really know why I was freaking the fuck out. Probably because just the couple of weeks prior to graduation were so incredibly insane.
Yeah.
So
I would agree. I would agree with that statement for you. Heather's had a lot of personal developments in her life since we recorded last, and so it's been a rough couple of weeks.
Yeah, it's been crazy. So, like, my Mother's Day present this year was an emergency appendectomy. And so
She's
that was
kidding.
super fun.
Yes.
And I'm not kidding.
No.
And I will say that the entirety of that experience was very strange. And I can just say that I totally and completely understand why people are pissed off at the medical profession.
Right.
I was so doped when I left the recovery room, I don't even remember coming home.
Oh, wow.
Wow. So, yeah.
I don't think I could. Yeah. I mean, I can say that. It was I've had a few surgeries. Had a few.
It was fast and furious. So that was my first surgery that I've ever been put out for. So maybe that's like normal. I don't know.
That may be normal. But I mean, it really might be. Some people are just more sensitive to all of that stuff.
Yeah. So very crazy. Very crazy. So happy Mother's Day to me.
So, the big present was really not a ruptured appendix. That was the big present. So
yeah,
the surgery was actually sort of like the consolation prize, is how we looked at it. Because she texted me and she's like, "You're never gonna." Well, here's what Heather does. You need to understand. Like, she sends me texts that are just copies of her medical records with no context whatsoever. I just get a picture of the readout, like the doctor's notes, and I'm like, oh shit, that's not good, So we'd had some conversations in the days previous to that because of some other things. So when I saw the text message, I was at work and I was like, oh, this must be something else. And so I'm looking at it. I'm like, wait, oh no. What? Yeah. So that's what it's like to be her friend, is just to get random medical documents. That's how you found out there's shit wrong with her. That's super serious.
Well, I mean, unfortunately, over the course of 2025, there have been a lot of like not so nice health developments in my arena.
It's true.
And
yes.
So yeah, it's been a journey. And I at some point we'll have to like break all that down because like, the whole beginning of this journey was literally I wanted hormone replacement therapy because I
Right.
thought I was in menopause.
Right.
And then it turns out, oh no, you just have all this other shit wrong with you.
Yeah. You wish it were menopause. Here's the 12 other
Right.
things. Here's the 12 other really serious health issues, possibly, that we have in store for you. You know.
Yeah. Here's what you won with the spin of the
here's
wheel
what
on
you
The
want.
Price is Right.
Your very own pill organizer.
Yeah, seriously, in the span of 6 months, I went from a person who takes no medication to a person who has a
Yes.
satchel of medications.
Yes,
And
that is true.
I'm
That is true.
surprised I don't rattle when I walk, because like I have to take so many fucking pills now. It's ridiculous.
We just, I don't know. 2020, we thought 2025 was going to be rough because of the political climate, and that has been true. But personally, yeah, I don't know what Heather did to somebody in some previous form of herself, but whoever that person is or entity is real pissed. And this is the year they're getting it all out. So just hold on to your butts.
Well, and I mean, too, it's like in the beginning of this little pilgrimage, if you will, this whole like when I kind of like left my life in Arkansas. I just left my life and came to Texas and moved a house out into the middle of nowhere, and started doing all kinds of shit I ain't got no business doing. The whole premise of this whole journey was like a healing journey, honestly. And so it's kind of like although it's shitty, like the stuff I've had to go through, at least now I have some actual answers. And that's so, true. You kind of have to like, get your little scale out and weigh the good with the bad. But it is still, to figure out that you have these things going on with you. And that I know for me, like the biggest thing was, it's like, so I'll just come out and say I was diagnosed with a thing called a prolactinoma, which I had never even heard of. Didn't even know that was a thing. Right. So, and when I go back and I try to figure out like when these symptoms actually started, they actually started when my son was born. So my youngest son is 16.
Yeah.
And so, like I had gone through this whole, like, then we had COVID, and I think that sort of intensified everything. Definitely made the brain fog worse and all this other sort of stuff. And so it's like, then I was like, okay, well, maybe this is all because I just have all this unprocessed trauma that I just need to go through. And so then you start therapy, and you're going through therapy, and then you figure out like all of this self-hatred and all of these things that you've criticized yourself for all these years actually turns out to be a brain tumor.
Yes.
So that's a little, and you're just like, God, here I thought, all of this was being caused by one thing, and and so it's been really interesting, I guess you could say. But I'm very thankful, like, even though I've had a tumultuous like medical process going on here, I'm really, really thankful to my primary care doctor, my new primary care doctor that I had here, because she listened to my symptoms, and she's just like, she goes, you're awfully young to be having these kind of issues. She goes, this is not something that I would normally see in a person your age. And she goes, and especially since like I had stopped having periods like 8 years ago. So, she was just like, you're only 40 years old. Like, that's very young. And I feel like, how come nobody checked that? And I'm just like, well, it's not like I didn't tell nobody. Like, I have said that. She's just like, that's just kind of weird. And so kudos to her for actually doing the right, combination of labs to like get all these things, the ball rolling. But it feels like just the hits keep coming.
Yes.
Even though I'm really just addressing issues that should have been addressed a long time ago and weren't, for, a myriad of reasons, just.
It does feel sort of like dominoes right now for you. I will agree.
Right.
I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah.
truly, like she texted me Thursday about the tumor, and I was like, oh shit, And then Saturday, I mean, 3 days later, 2 days, whatever, I get and so I'm thinking it's going to be paperwork or something additional about that. So I'm like reading, and I'm so confused, and I was like, oh wait a minute, this is a whole other. We're in the ER, like she's got something else going on, and I was just like, this sucks, like this is bad, this is not good, and yeah, so she's a rock star though. Look at her. I mean, it's been like 12 days, if that. Yeah.
Yeah.
And she's like, yeah,
Yeah.
let's film. I'm ready. And I was like, okay, I'm going to go to therapy and cry for an hour, and I'm barely going to be ready. And you're still healing from surgery. Okay, do it.
Well, I was super proud of myself because I was supposed to go back to work on Monday. And I called my boss I
Yeah.
called my boss on Sunday, and I was just like, hey girl, like, I
Oh,
may overshot the moon a little bit on this one. I think I'm going to need a little bit
you
more
think?
time because
Yeah. Yeah. Don't do that.
maybe I'm not the superhero that I thought I was, but
No, you are, but that's not.
also,
No.
like, um it's very rare that I put my own needs in front of everybody else.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I was proud of myself that I could have like a rational conversation and with myself and saying, you probably need to prioritize this time to
Yes.
heal instead of
Yes.
rushing back in and being exhausted and having the opportunity
Right.
to just take care of things like that needed to be taken care of around the house, and
Yeah.
things that have been neglected because I felt so bad. And
Yeah, for sure.
so I decided to, go ahead and utilize that extra little bit of time of FMLA to, get my shit
So,
together. So,
so when do you go back to work?
well, I took this week off, so I'll go back next week. And I mean,
Okay.
I usually work a Thursday, Friday, Saturday schedule. So I've got a little bit more
So,
time to,
okay. Good.
yeah,
Good.
chill.
I made the mistake of, so when I had a hysterectomy, I owned my own pharmacy at the time. It was really hard to get enough people cobbled together to cover shifts. It was horrible. I had some really amazing folks who stepped up and like came down and worked, and even some local chains that like kind of suspended their rules or kind of looked the other way while their person came and helped for one day, because it's like I had to have this done. It was almost an emergency. We won't get into that right now. But I only had enough people for 4 weeks. So at 4 weeks, I was back at work, and I do not recommend that, even with a laparoscopic hysterectomy. I don't recommend that at all. And then several years later, they had to go back in and take the last ovary out because it wouldn't behave. And so I was like, oh, it's just an ovary. I'll be back in like 2, maybe 3 weeks. No, no, I wasn't. I was not. Like, one of the pharmacists I work with was like, no, you need to tell him 6 weeks. And this is a man. And I was like, I'll be fine. I mean, like, the hysterectomy had to be way worse. And I'm just telling you, I guess I'm a weenie bobini. I don't know. But I don't know how people who have C-sections do it. That abdominal cutting of muscle and all that. Nope, not for me. Not for me at all. Did not like it. Don't want to do it again. Very hard to recover from. Um, mm-mm, mm-mm. So I'm glad that you're taking a little bit of extra time just to be sure, because
Well, they
I
make
wish
it
I had
seem
it.
like these laparoscopic robotic procedures are like no big
Yeah,
deal. And
yeah,
they treat you like it's no big deal. Like, I was sent
right.
home with 7 days worth of Robaxin and 5 days worth of Tramadol.
That's insulting. That's
Yeah.
insulting. And here
It-
we are
yeah.
so totally off topic. We may never get there today, but we had this conversation, or we've had it many times, but this last week at work, we were discussing the fact that the opioid crackdown has gotten so bad that now we're not treating patients who should be treating, and it's primarily women that I'm seeing. So, without revealing HIPAA details, I had a male patient that had broken something. That's all I'll say. But it was not something where he needed to be hospitalized or have surgery or anything like that. He had broken something. It's a straight break. And he was sent, out of the ER with Percocet 10. Y'all, they don't send women home who have vaginal deliveries with Percocet at all anymore. Like, most of the time they send them home with ibuprofen, like iron, like there's no narcotics involved at all, because God forbid somebody accidentally get addicted. And I'm like, what have we done? Like, it is. But and also, like, if a man goes to have a vasectomy, I can't tell you how many times I have filled hydrocodone for them, Norco, whatever. It's not very many. I'll give you credit there. It's not very many. Maybe it's 5 to 7 tablets. Regardless, if a female goes in and has a ruptured cyst and it's so bad that she had to go to the ER, she ain't coming out of there with hydrocodone. She's not. And so, like, there's such a discrepancy.
I was offered in the emergency room while waiting on my emergency appendectomy IV Tylenol and Toradol.
They've lost their mind. They have lost their mind. That is not appropriate pain control for patients. It is not. I'm just going to it's stupid. It's just downright stupid.
Yeah. And I am a healthcare professional who works at that hospital. So even
tired.
There's not even any professional courtesy.
There's not any. I got you, girl. No worries. We're going to keep. All right. We're going to have to. You know what? We'll have to talk about opioid discrepancy. We'll have to make that one of the topics. I went back and listened to some of our episodes, and I have us a whole list of things we said we were going to talk about. So we'll have to work on those. Also, Heather made fun of my lunch. So I want to talk about that. She was like, I went to Whataburger after therapy because it was a little triggering. I'm not going to lie. Like, and I was hungry. It was also lunch, way past lunchtime. And I sent her a picture of my sandwich, and she doesn't go, "Good for you, Laura Beth. I'm glad you're eating." She said, "Plain and dry, is that a thing?" Yes, it is. And here's why it's the thing. I could eat mustard or ketchup on here. I could do it. There could be some lettuce, some grilled onion. But if a burger can't stand on its own, y'all, should they be making it? That is my theory. So I don't always eat a burger plain and dry. I don't. However, I'm not going to drop grilled onions in my lap on the way home from therapy. That's the first thing. Or mushrooms. But, like, if you can't make a burger that I can eat plain that's still really good, I don't want it. I mean, I think that's a fair assessment.
Hey, you are entitled to have your Whataburger any way you want.
Right. Because I did the therapy today. Anyway. All right. Are we going to get started? Should we get started? We probably should.
Yeah, I think we should. Let's go for it.
Because our people are going to be like,
so,
we're out of here.
Today's episode is about things we hate.
Yes, it is. Things we hate. Hold on. I got to get my list. Because I had a different list, but it's okay. I made my list. So, Heather and I both listen to the I've Had It podcast, right? You listen to Pumps. Yes, you do. The ladies from Oklahoma.
Yes.
From OKC.
I do.
Okay. So that's the I've Had, I think that's what they call it. Did I just say it? Oh my gosh. If I did, I'm embarrassed. But I'm pretty sure it's the I've Had It podcast. And so that's, they talk about a lot of things, but the main focus is like, I've had it with fill-in. And they're like, obviously we can't or won't take their idea. But I was somewhere last week and saw somebody do something because it's first on my list. And I was just like, I freaking hate it when somebody does that. That is, oh. And so then I texted Heather and I was like, hey, every so often we need to have a things we hate or things we love, like, sidebar video, because I think that's relatable, quite frankly. I don't think it's just like a postmenopausal woman thing. I don't think the things we're going to talk about are. So, things we hate. You want to go first? You want me to go first?
Makeup. I fucking hate makeup. It makes me feel like I want to claw my face off. I hate it. It's expensive. It's pointless. I don't understand the premise. I've never worn it, except for on special occasions. And then on these special occasions, I'm so uncomfortable that I feel like I just want to scrub my face like every 5 seconds. And I hate it. I can't stand it. It's not my jam. It goes against my hippie nature. I don't like it. It makes me feel like somebody's holding a rag over my nose. There, I said it. Makeup.
I love it. I love it. So I'm not a big fan of it. I myself. I definitely do not wear it on my days off for the most part. I did today because I was out in nature. I was out with the people, so I put a little bit on, so I didn't scare anybody. But I have literally got my whole regimen, and I use that term loosely, regimen, down to like maybe 5 minutes because I don't like it. I wear it to work again because I see hundreds of people. See, Heather sees like how many beds do you have when you're nursing?
I mean, we have
Approximately.
like there's like 33 beds on the unit.
Okay.
Usually have 4 to 5. So,
Okay. Okay. So only 4 to 5 patients are going to see you without makeup per shift. And I am going to see anywhere from 4 to 900.
well, I mean, technically, the amount of people who see me without makeup is everyone because I don't ever wear
She's
it.
like, I never wear it. I never wear it. You
Yeah.
also live in the
In
middle of the
fact,
country.
Chad, every time I put makeup on, he's always like, "You look weird," because he's so used to
I love it.
not seeing me with it.
That that does not look right. That does not. No, I'm not a fan of it. Especially eye makeup. I don't like it. I don't like it. I will say that now that I'm this age, my eyebrows have decided to leave the country permanently. They have expatted themselves, I guess, to Australia or New Zealand. I don't know, but I don't have them anymore. So I draw them in and I wear a little bit of something. I wouldn't even call it foundation. It's like, I think it's just to make me feel like I'm wearing makeup and I'm not like completely bare in front of people. A little bit of powder. That's it. And so I've got like a lip balm and like one lip color. That's I know my girls think I'm crazy because they have like they have all the stuff. They don't wear it 90% of the time. Why am I paying for it? But anyway, um, so yeah, I'm not a fan of it. Also, I'm allergic to most of it.
Yeah, that's a big
So
thing for
that,
me too.
mhm,
I can't
yeah,
just go to CVS and buy Maybelline.
nope,
There's very
nope,
few kinds of makeup that I can wear. There are even
yeah,
less kinds of foundation that I can wear, like I said, that
yes,
don't make me want to claw my face off.
yeah.
And so I've just chosen, in my advanced age, full of wisdom, to
Not it.
forego
She
it
is not
completely.
advanced age.
I don't
Not.
even own it. I don't have any. I have none.
You have none.
So
You have
I have no
none.
makeup. No makeup. Mm-mm.
What are you gonna
No.
do when we get invited to the Jon Stewart show someday? Like, you're just
Well,
gonna
I
let
hope
them
they
make
have
you
a
up?
fucking makeup artist. I
They
hope they have a
better.
fucking
They
makeup artist
better have
because
a hair and makeup artist because I don't want to look like this when that happens. I don't. And they better have like a style consultant available because I'm not going on there in a $9 Old Navy men's shirt. I'm not. Somebody's gonna have to help me.
I mean, JD Vance does better eyeliner than I do.
Agreed. Same. That I don't own eyeliner. To be truthful, I don't even own eyeliner. If I want to have any sort of eyeliner on, I literally, again, because I'm allergic to so much of it, I have like one kind of eyeshadow I can wear for maybe 3 hours also because I can't have it on very long. Because again, like you said, you just want to claw. Like you can feel just the itching starting. And so I just like wet my little tiny eyebrow brush. And that's what I just like draw. It's wet. I mean, it works. Yeah. I thought the other day I really just needed to go through that drawer and throw everything out that I actually don't use and anything that's unopened, like give to the girls. And then just, that's it. That's all I do.
Sounds like a plan to me.
I think so. I think so. I mean, with all the filters available, who really needs makeup?
Right, we can just fake it till we make it.
We're just going to go on, we're on TikTok. We're just going to go on there and put a filter on if we can. I mean, why wouldn't you? Saves you 30
Right?
minutes of real makeup. Yeah, absolutely. I love it. You hate makeup. That's good. I don't think I knew you hated it. I just knew you didn't wear it very much. I never thought about it. Interesting. Okay. Note to self, do not buy Heather makeup. Got it. Got it. Check, check, check. Okay. My turn, I guess. So
Yep.
what started all this? I hate it when people spit. Ugh.
When they
Why?
like spit when they're talking?
No, no.
Or
When they
just like spit on the ground?
actually spit on the ground. So I was running errands the other day and I was driving past, like in the mall of parking lot of like a little strip mall where there's like 6 or 8 stores. And this guy is walking towards his gym. You can tell he's going to the gym. He's got his bag and everything. And he just turns and spits on the sidewalk ground area. And I'm like, ew, that's gross. What are you doing that you need to spit? I don't think I have ever needed to spit like that. Just randomly walking somewhere and like, oh, I feel the need to spit. And I just start spitting. Like, if you're sick and you need to cough and spit things up, that's different. I'm a pharmacist. I got you. I'm going to go, I'll get you a Kleenex. Did it 2 days ago for a patient who had a kiddo that was coughing their little lungs up. And you know what that was? That's different. I'm talking about people who are living their best life spitting. What are you doing? That is a biological product. Keep it in your mouth. And I don't think, I looked at that guy and he was young. He was really probably in his 20s or whatever. Reasonably attractive. I don't know, kind of short. Doesn't matter. But I thought, I don't think I could be married or be with somebody that just randomly turned and spit. Just needed to spit. Just, ugh. I don't know. It's disgusting.
I mean, I can get on board with that. Like just to hawk a loogie because you can, like, seems like a
Right.
really rude
Right.
thing to do.
Yeah.
Walking down the sidewalk, or because what, like, then somebody steps in that, and then they've got your loogie all over their shoe, and
Your genetic,
everywhere.
right? Your genetic material is now in my floorboard. I don't want it there. I don't. That's no. I just was floored. I was like, you are in public. And of course, in the South, you're going to have all these people that chew tobacco. Like, I grew up, my dad chewed tobacco and I hated it. My mom hated it. There was always a spit cup or can or that's gross. And that's a totally different topic. So before people go, well, I'm going to swallow the tobacco juice. Nobody's talking about that, Stan. We're talking about this dude walking into the gym and just spitting on the sidewalk. Like, why would you do that? I don't know. It was gross.
Man, when I was a bartender before I became a nurse, we would have and I worked on a military base, and we had all these people who would have their little spittle cups or whatever. I would tell them they couldn't sit in front of me. I'm like, you're gonna have to go down to the end of the bar. That's fucking gross. I don't want to watch you spit nasty shit out of your mouth. Like, that's disgusting. If I don't get a tip, I don't get a tip. I don't care. I'm working on the military base. I'm getting $10 an hour to be here anyway. So your little 50 cents ain't going to hurt me none. Go to sit over there.
It's atrocious. It's
atrocious.
Anyway.
Okay. What else do I hate?
Okay. What else do you hate? I have so. Listen,
I've literally just like made.
I tried to make my list like even
this week.
It's not. I did
bras. I also hate bras. Bras. Hate them.
How did I know that was coming? Makeup, bras. The next thing she's going to say, guys, is panties. That's what's coming next. Just predicting the future.
I think I have one, like, what I would consider a good bra that has like a proper underwire and support for the ladies that would be appealing to other people. Aside from that, it's Sports Bra City, and
yes.
That's just, I mean, and at home it's none, and that's the first thing that gets removed when I walk in the door. And in case you wanted to know, I'm not wearing one right now.
I just assumed. I mean, you've been at home today. Why would you need one? Why would you need? You don't need one. The chickens do not care. They don't.
They don't. They don't give a damn.
I have to admit, I literally have. I mean, I have a drawer full of like sports bra, variations, and then I have this particular kind that I will wear. It's really not a sports bra, but it's shaped like one. Anyway, it's like $15 at Walmart. No underwire. I'll be honest. I don't know if I went in there right now if I had like a real bra. Um, because I went through and got rid of a bunch that didn't fit, and I don't think I've replaced them. So technically, I don't know that I have one because I wear these all the time. Like I've got one on now. I wear them at work. If I'm wearing something in public that I don't need things to see. I mean, I make silicone nipple covers. Just wear those. I don't care whether you like that they're pointed down or up. It doesn't matter to me.
Me either. Nope. Don't
I
care.
mean, it is what it is. The underwires are the most uncomfortable thing in a woman's wardrobe that they're expected to wear. I'll say that. Because there's other
Do
things that are more
you
uncomfortable, but they're not, you don't have, like, it's not a requirement, you know.
did you ever see the movie Beaches? Do you
Oh,
remember
yes.
Beaches?
Are you kidding? Of
Okay.
course.
And so like, like the song where she's doing the play like auto titsling auto titsling adventure.
I totally forgot about that. Wasn't that,
And it just proves
wait,
that these devices had to be concocted by men because
well, they were, because they
no
don't like the
no
aesthetic of them
sane
drooping, so we got
woman,
to profit. No, nobody would go,
no
here's a great
sane woman.
idea. Let's lace it up.
No.
Mm-mm. No, I totally forgot about it. Isn't mom, that was what, when she was a kid, right? Uh, shoot, from Blossom and
Yeah, Mayim Bialik.
Mia
Yeah.
Bialik. Yeah, that's her.
Uh-huh.
That's her singing that, I
Yes.
think, if I remember right. Yeah.
No, no,
Just
no.
so,
That's actually Bette Midler because that part happens
that's
later
right.
after
That's
she's grown
right.
up. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. But she
Yeah.
plays the child version of her, right?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Okay. All right. So sidebar, I have always been told that I look like her. Literally, I thought I had outgrown it because I haven't heard it in years. And then I had a random patient 2 years ago when I went to the other pharmacy and managed, who took one look at me and started calling me Blossom. And that's all I heard from him. And he was there every other day. And I was like, that's actually not my name. I don't make the kind of money she does. Could you please, like, it's Laura Beth or Dr. Martin? Didn't matter. He was going to roll up on that scooter and call me Blossom no matter what. So anyway, we'll side note. So you hate bras. I'm not, I can't say I'm surprised. They're terrible contraptions.
Very
Terrible.
much.
Mm-hmm. They
Yes.
are. All right. I have so many. I have so many here. So I guess I'll just go in order. I hate greedy people. I hate greedy
Mm.
people, and especially hate them when they come in the form of gigantic, well, or small corporations. I hate it. They ruin the world. They ruin it for the rest of us. They ruin it for the rest of us.
Agree. 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 I and I feel like we're so like strangled by corporate greed right now, just in all
Yes,
areas of our life. It's just
I think so.
disgusting,
I think so. And
and I don't know what we could do about it, but
I don't know. I think it starts with ourselves. And so when I put greedy people, that was my first thought, because we as Americans have this entitlement of our own comfort, our own safety. We've lost that collectiveness of community and concern for each other as a whole that
mm-hmm.
I was taught, and I know my grandparents exhibited it. Especially my granddad going to Europe for 4 years in World War II, and um, I mean, even my dad serving in Vietnam, and my uncle, and just lots of family members. Like, I feel like we've lost that collective concern, and it's just every man for himself, and it's like, You're going to leave this earth with nothing. Absolutely nothing. And your kids are going to fight over what's left. If you've got kids or whomever, they're going to fight over it if you don't teach them better. And if you're teaching them to act like you act, which is every man for himself, they're going to fight over it. So you've done no good. Like in my mentality is, if I have something for my kids when I leave, that's great. I mean, I would love to build that legacy of wealth. What I don't want to build is a legacy of entitlement. That's really crappy. And I feel like that's where we are right now. Like, you look around and people are just like, "Oh, I know all this stuff is happening and it's terrible and it's just, yeah, it's awful." And then the next sentence is, "Oh, I'm going on vacation, going camping, doing this, doing that." And I'm just like, wow. Like, until it affects someone directly, they don't they don't care. And that just shocks me because it wasn't how I was raised.
Right. Yeah. And that spills over into so many things. And and it's like, even I think, like, I was thinking about this the other day, especially like with all the medical stuff I've got going on and the enormous amounts of copays and everything that I'm having to pay.
Oh, yes.
And
Yes.
and like, I pay like $900 a month for my family to have insurance, and then, like, you have the deductible and all these other kinds of things. And there's, I think what's happening, I mean, at least in the medical field, because even I on occasion have felt this way, and I've had to, like, stop myself and go, that's a really shitty way to look at things. But it is very aggravating, like, as a nurse, when you are, like, literally being taken to the woodshed by the fees that you have to pay to get health care, to come to work and take care of people who don't have to pay anything.
Yes.
and
Yes.
and how that just
Yes.
that simple scenario creates such class warfare,
Yes.
like,
There's a
and
level of
how it's
resentment.
so.
Yeah.
Right. There's a whole level of resentment, because it's like,
Yeah.
here I'm struggling to, after surgery, like, pay my bills, and,
Right.
I'm relying upon all these systems, and it,
Yeah.
it really sucks.
Yeah.
And I definitely have had those moments where it's just like, well, shit, I guess if I just, like, quit my job, and, I can get whatever I need, and, won't have to worry about it. But yeah, so, like, I could definitely see why people have gotten that sort of every man for themselves mentality, but it still doesn't make me feel good inside. Like, it doesn't make me feel good. It makes me feel so much better, because the other side of that is that this week I've been supported so much by my community,
Oh.
that I can't help but feel, very
Yeah.
thankful about
Yeah.
the friends that I have, and the people who are there for me, when I need them to be, and thank God for them, because,
Yes.
you
Yes.
know, um, the world needs a whole lot more of that, just on every level. I wish that there was a magic wand that I had to make people care about people again. You know,
Yeah. I agree. I think the
that's
lack
a
of
slogan. Make people care again. Let's get
I
T-shirts.
don't have.
Make
I
people
know. I
care
don't have
again.
a. I literally don't have a pen here. Do I get fired as a pharmacist? Hold on. We have a running joke at work. Like, pharmacists always have pens. I do have one. I just had to get it. Like, I'll have to make us a shirt because it is true. Like, we've lost, and I think that's intentional. I think the powers that be have really made very intentional efforts so that the everyday American does not care about anything that doesn't involve, like, they are pushing empathy as like a bad thing, like that's a character flaw, and I'm like, absolutely not.
It's
you know
woke. It's woke.
no, it's,
If you're
well, then
empathic, you're
Jesus was
woke.
woke. Jesus was woke, and we won't get into that right now. But yeah, like, it's crazy to me that we are pushing and making it sound like empathy is a bad thing. And I'm like, when we lose the ability to feel for others and put ourselves in their position, that's a very dangerous place to be. I actually just finished that book by Lori. Is it Picoult? I'm not sure I'm saying her Jodi Picoult. I'm not sure I'm saying her last name right, but it's called The Storyteller, and it's present day, but it's reflecting back on World War II. It's crazy the mentality that these people had to have, and it was because they had no empathy anymore. they were able to kill people and hurt people when they would have never done that in their everyday life prior to this time period in Germany. And it's because they were separated from their humanness. And I
Yes.
think, and greed is a big part of that. And I think just as regular people, we have to keep sounding the alarm of that's not okay. We have to feel for other people. We have to put ourselves in their position. So
Right.
yeah, I hate greedy people. Don't be one.
Right. Okay, let's see
Your
what's
turn.
next on my list. Okay, I really, really can't stand electronic medical records. I hate charting in them. I think it's a lot of clicking boxes and covering your ass. It's not a lot of actual care. It doesn't really do anything. If you've
Yep.
ever had to review like a
Yep.
medical record for legal
Yep.
purposes, it's purposely ambiguous and difficult to find things.
Yes.
Like, I just can't
Yes.
stand it. And like, I think the thing, especially like as a charge nurse, what's really aggravating to me is because one of my jobs is to like read the medical record of the patient that's in
Yeah.
there and figure
Yeah.
out what's going on and all these sorts of things. And so it's like you'll get report and you'll be like, oh, this patient is this and they've been doing this all day and they've been doing this all day and they've been doing this all day. And so I go into the record and I see the vital signs and I see these things and I see that, but there are no nursing notes that say like what's actually been going on. There's
There's
like,
no nursing notes.
yeah, because it's just not done anymore. Like, when I was as an old school lady, when I became a nurse, everybody got a narrative
Yes.
note at the beginning of the shift.
They
Like,
don't do
patient
that. They don't do that
oriented.
anymore.
They don't do that anymore. And
Why?
so,
How is that okay? How is that not
I
like
well, they say, it's all legal reasons. You know that. It's because if somebody writes in a chart that they called so and so and they gave them a 20 milliequivalent potassium IV push order, and you went and did it, well, I mean, then that's that's your legal red
wow.
flag. So
Wow.
in this case, it's just, I mean, and they serve their purpose. There are things there, I don't hate them completely. Like, it's
Right.
very nice as a patient to be able to get on a patient portal because, like, in all
Right.
actuality, I knew about my appendicitis before they came and told me. Like, I had already sent you that text message before they even came and told me that I had appendicitis. I was like, look at this shit right here, you know? And
Love it.
it's just like, so there are parts of it that I like, but as
Right.
like a clinician, like dealing with an electronic medical record, I hate it.
Wow.
I just hate it. They're too clunky. It takes way too much time to chart. Way more time to chart than it ever did before with paper when you had your little flow sheets. And
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. That's interesting. I had a phone conversation with one of the kids' physicians today, and they asked me, they're like, do we have a copy of such and such? It was like a scan or something done in another facility. And I was like, well, I requested they send it to you, but I don't know if they did. And that person literally went, well, if I could find anything in this electronic chart, she said
Yeah.
it might be here, but who could find it? And I was like, wow, I mean, I wasn't judging her. I just thought that's so crazy. Like you're doing a telehealth appointment because they don't have enough time to see everybody in person all the time. Also understandable when you're just doing a maintenance check-in. But like for them not to, it should be just a flick of a button, just they should be able to see everything. It should not be a complicated mess. It just shouldn't be.
No, and
Wow.
then it's like I had a situation with a friend of mine's daughter several years ago where she had given me a copy of her medical records to look at, and it was on a disc,
Hmm.
and so what you'll get is like all physician notes, all
Yeah.
nursing notes, all
Yeah.
this, all that. And so to go back and have to try to decide a day to day, you have to print the whole fucking thing. You have to put it in, so that you
In
can even get a
order.
picture
Yeah.
of what actually happened,
Wow.
because everything, it's not collated, like it would
Yeah.
be in a paper chart. You know what I'm
Oh, I
saying?
know.
And so
Yeah. Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
I can see that from a litigation standpoint, it's probably a really smart way to do things.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Um,
Make it more
But
confusing.
for a seamlessness of care standpoint, not so much.
Mm.
There's my soapbox. I hate electronic medical records.
Okay. So my next one you're gonna love. I hate narcissists. I
Oh.
I hate them. I hate everything about that personality. It's the gaslighting, the the blaming, the making you think you're crazy, just
Mm-hmm.
the self-involvement. Everything revolves around them. Their feelings are the only ones that matter. You're just a prop in the room. Like I freaking hate it. I hate it.
Yeah, I've left my dream job because of a narcissist. Because I
Yeah,
just got
for sure.
so effing sick of all the crazy antics, and it was just like, and nobody would listen, And so I would
Oh no.
say, I was like, you don't understand. Like, I can't even take a verbal order from this person, because if it turns out in a way that they didn't want me to, they would say, "Oh no, I didn't say that. That's not what I
Yep.
said. I said you were supposed to do this, and I said you were supposed to, and I was just like, no." So I would have to make that person send me
Wow.
everything he wanted me to do in an email. I'm like, send that to me in an email so that I would have actual freaking proof that they actually said what they
Wow.
said,
Yeah.
so that I could carry these things out. And oh my gosh, would just do. I don't know if they were just addicted to drama, but like if I would leave to go on vacation, they were constantly trying to change stuff, and I'm just like, I prepared, because in the job that I had that I left, I had to prepare weeks in advance before I was
Yeah.
going to take any time off. I had to make sure
Yeah.
no transplants were happening, or if
Right.
transplants were happening, that everything was buttoned up tightly and things were the way they
Right.
should be. And and you can't just change things
No.
serendipitously because
No.
you woke up on the wrong side of the bed that morning. Like, these things have a very structured, strict process. And like, I would be away at a conference, and then I'd have my phone blowing up because, like, oh, so and so is supposed to start this, and so is supposed to that. I'm like, whoa, 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 whoa! They're not even on the schedule till next week. Like, what the f are we doing? No, we can't freeze cells at the last minute. That's against the law. Like, just all this kind of crazy stuff because they just wanted to do whatever it was they wanted to do. And I'm like, these things have rules.
Yeah.
They have rules. You cannot circumvent the rules because you want to, just do what you want to do. And
Yeah.
yeah, after like several months of that craziness, I was just like, you know what? Y'all promised me that you were going to give me this raise when we got to this point, and you haven't done it. And that was kind of like my reasoning. I was like,
Right.
but at the end of all things, I probably could have worked with the very poor amount of money that they were paying me. A very poor amount of money.
For what you were
If
doing, for
if
sure.
I didn't have to deal with that malignant narcissist personality every single day,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah, for
because
sure.
I enjoyed the work that I was doing. I enjoyed the work that I was doing. Um, but the leadership of that particular program was horrible because they
Yeah.
allowed a narcissist to just do whatever the F he wanted to do.
Yeah. When they're left unchecked and they have a little kingdom, it's not fun at all. And I
Yeah.
do feel like there are certain professions that attract that type of personality more so than others. And unfortunately,
Mm-hmm.
medicine is one. The legal system is another. There's a lot of people, and it's not to say that they're not highly intelligent, highly qualified. That is all secondary to what we're talking about. But if you are so difficult that you are making everybody else's life but your own hell, like nobody wants to be around you.
Yeah.
We don't want to have to pep talk ourselves to work, which I've done and you've done. Like you get out of the car in the morning and you're like, okay, I can do this. I can do this. Like mentally, you're doing all these gymnastics because you're about to go spar with a narcissist for 10 or 12 hours. It is highly unpleasant. Highly unpleasant. So yeah, I don't like it. I hate it. I hate dealing with a narcissist. And I can usually spot one in
Yeah.
about 1.2 seconds by the middle of their first sentence. Their tone, their cadence of how they speak, how they look at you and make eye contact, their body language. And I don't know if that's from trauma or I don't know, but I can tell you that I can look at a person generally within a very quick moment of time and tell you what we're dealing with and how it's going to go for them.
Yeah.
Not for me anymore. I mean, I
Yeah.
used to be a pushover, but for them, because I just can't. I can deal with it. I guess I shouldn't say I can't deal with it. I won't deal with it. I won't put up with it. They're not going to do that to me because I had enough of it. Had enough of it.
Yes, for sure. Okay, this
That's
one
all to
might
say
ruffle a
about
few
that.
feathers.
I don't know. The bra one was a pretty big deal. So go ahead.
Okay, so I hate vaccine deniers.
Oh, wow. Like you just laid it right out there. She did not prep me for that one today. I mean,
I
we had
told
talked
you
about it before.
it's
You
gonna
did,
ruffle
but I
some
didn't know.
feathers.
Yeah, I'm cool with it. No, go. You know how I feel about it. So you go right ahead and explain why you hate vaccine deniers. Go for it.
I feel like we, and I mean, a lot of this just basically goes back to the politicization of medicine during COVID.
Yes,
And I think that a lot of
yes,
this now, do I believe that vaccine injuries occur? I do believe vaccine injuries occur. I've seen them with my
absolutely.
own two eyes. But I feel like what people
Same.
are labeling as a vaccine injury these days is kind of like, it's still, I don't want to say it's silly because some people have serious like things that happen to them after they get vaccines.
Right, right,
But
right. Yes, yes,
we're talking about everything that we do in medicine, every single avenue that we research is going to have, good things and bad things about it. And I think
yes.
that, when people are like, oh, I do my own research, but they don't understand the difference between like what actual like peer reviewed research
Right,
is versus,
right.
some article that you got off
Yes,
Newsmax.
yes,
That's very vexing. And like
yes.
I made a comment. I was entertaining myself one day, and made a comment on a Facebook post, which is always entertaining. And like I had a person tell me that I was stupid because we are born with all the immunity we will ever need. And I'm just like, yeah, if your
What?
maternal line was
If
exposed to those diseases and you only get a short amount of time where that stuff is
yes,
circulating in your bloodstream. And they were just like, you
right.
don't know how mitochondrial DNA works and all this other kind of stuff. I'm like, actually, yeah,
Yes,
I
I
do.
do. Yeah, I do. They made me learn it
And if
more than once.
if you are one of those people who doesn't ever want to get a vaccine, I don't hate you. Like, I don't hate
No,
you.
no, no.
Like, that's your choice. It's your body. You can put in it whatever you want to put in it, not put in it whatever you want to put in it. That's all fine and good. But to like drum up all of this false narrative of all of these things that are like what they consider to be a vaccine injury is just, especially since there's like no real research to back this stuff up. Like, and I try to explain to people like about the AIRS reporting system, and like, yeah, you can report, you have to look at when you decide what a vaccine injury is. Like, say you got a vaccine and you were at the doctor and you were being treated for something and you got a vaccine, but you also, I don't know, got prescribed a new medication. And then you come back with a rash. Well, you don't know whether or not the vaccine caused the
Mm-hmm.
rash or the new medicine caused the rash.
Right,
So you put
right.
that into the AIRS reporting system. And then
Yes,
the AIRS reporting system looks at all this data and says, okay, this rash is an outlier here. This isn't in the normal data point set of what,
yes.
what is actually a vaccine injury. And so now
Correct.
you have all these people going around being like, I was injured by a vaccine. And I'm just like, well, I mean,
No, no, you weren't.
you have to really look at what vaccines, the cost, the benefit of
Right,
the vaccine
right.
over getting the disease.
Correct,
And
correct,
like
correct.
right now in Texas, we're having a massive measles outbreak going on.
Yeah.
and and people have died, and then there are people who have gone through their measles vaccine episode without any consequences. Great. But what about the people who died? What about the people who are going to have long standing health issues because they were
Right.
exposed to this disease? And so I get that's a decision you have to make for yourself. um but from a public health standpoint, I don't understand, like, all of a sudden, why we're just picking everything apart. Now, me personally, I did not get my kids the HPV vaccine, and it was because I had known some people who, like, I actually knew a girl that she got the second vaccine and she just died in her sleep the next day. So, and things like that do happen. I mean, things
Yes,
like that
they
do
do.
happen.
They do.
And so what I did was I looked at my children's habits, you know, their what they were, if they had boyfriends and girlfriends, if they were, out there in the community, mixing
Yeah.
it up, in the ways that are important for the HPV vaccine. And I made a decision for my children based on their lifestyle and what they were doing. And I said, you know what? I think that's something that you can choose when you're an adult, because at this
Right.
point, it doesn't make a difference. Um, and, but, I don't, like I said, you are entitled to choose what you want in your body. I get that. I think that it's really irresponsible to be shouting from the rooftops on every, internet platform, about a bunch of stuff that you don't really know about, that is influencing people to make decisions that are probably not in
Right.
their best interest. And, like, I had said on this post, it's like, well, as a nurse, aren't you? I said, as a nurse, it is not my job to tell anybody what to do. It is my job to
No.
give you the information
Correct.
that you need to make a rational decision based on your risks versus your benefits. Like, if because I guess when somebody had said, well, in these hospitals, like, that's really funny because they don't really teach anything about vaccine safety, and we've had pregnant women coming up and getting flu shots. And I said, well, then that's on them, because if they read the VIS, it says that it hasn't been tested effectively in pregnant women. Now, is it a huge deal if you get the flu while you're pregnant? Yeah. You can die from that. Your baby can suffer serious complications, if
Yep.
you have the flu while you're pregnant. And I've seen it happen. But, I think we have to also take some personal responsibility, to read the actual literature. And saying that doctors are, like, switching out the package inserts and stuff like that. I'm like, guys,
We don't have
where is
time for
this
that.
happening?
We don't
I've
have time
never
for
seen.
that. And why would we? You're
Yeah.
not even going to get the package insert. Here's a news flash for you. I've never in 22 years had a patient ask me for the package insert. I would have given it to them, but I've never been asked for one. Now, I've been asked
Yeah.
thousands and thousands of questions, which I give all the answers to that I possibly can, but I've never had a patient ask for a package insert. I mean, that's just not true.
And and you know what? I'm all for research. I'm all for looking at these things.
But you
But
have to know what
what
you're
they're
looking
like,
at.
right,
You
but
ha-
these
you, yeah,
recycled things that they keep bringing up are all things that we've already looked at,
yeah, yes. I
you
think
know?
it's
And so,
yeah. There's a difference between what we call primary literature, which is the actual study of using a drug or vaccine in a group of patients and not using it. That's a primary study. You have 10,000 participants, 5 are going to get this drug, 5 are not going to get this drug. That is a primary study. When you hear people in the news discussing something called a meta analysis, um, or there's another term for post, what is it, Heather, when they're looking at it retroactively? When they are just
yeah.
looking at all this data from, let's say, 15 studies, and then they start to pool things, you have to be very careful because you've lost your statistical um, mark, because each study is looking at something different in reference to that particular possible drug or vaccine. You cannot pool things together and then cherry pick what you want out of there, because it loses its statistical significance. And that's the problem, is you've got, I'm going to say it, uneducated people in the media and in politics who are having, I'm sure, staff go and do this. They don't know what they're looking at. They don't know what they're reading. And that to me is an incredibly dangerous. We learned that in pharmacy school. Like that was this huge deal of always go to the primary literature. If you want to read that other stuff, you can read it, but you got to remember you cannot use it to justify selecting a drug for a patient as a pharmacist.
Yeah.
So like if I'm going to look at what insulin I want to give somebody, I can't look at like this article that discusses 20 studies about insulin. I have to go to the primary literature where that one particular one I'm interested in using is studied. And that's it. Otherwise, you're just making shit up. And
Yeah, and it
so
was really interesting in that thread. Somebody said, "Well, I've survived all the childhood diseases, and I've never had a vaccine, and I'm fine."
well,
And
that's
I'm just
great.
like,
Good
"So
for
you
you.
survived? You survived polio?" Because I don't remember very many people coming away from polio
No,
like
no,
unharmed.
no. I haven't.
You know?
No. I had several patients who, of course, I didn't know them when they had polio. I knew them as adults who were living with the effects of polio. And my uncle actually had polio and was bedridden for about 6 months when he was 5. And my mom talks about how traumatic of an I was actually thinking about that this week. How traumatic of an experience that was, of course, for him, but for my grandmother. I mean, she had basically a nervous breakdown because, she didn't know if her child was going to survive or not. And I mean, honestly, he's a miracle because he went on to be
Right.
very, very, very physically healthy. But I can absolutely promise you, had there been an opportunity for him to have a vaccine before he got sick, my grandmother would have had him first in line rather than watch
Yeah.
him suffer and possibly risk it. And then the other patients that I've known have had long-standing health issues for the rest of their life from polio. And I have a patient who has a long-standing health issue from getting a flu vaccine in 1978. We don't make them that way anymore. Even she knows that, and we've discussed it. Does she get one? No. We understand why, but we don't use that type of flu vaccine anymore. We've discussed it in depth, and she's like, I'm just not. I'm like, hey, girl, I get it. Like, you're lucky to be alive. She has been damaged irreparably, but you just have to take it. What does the literature say? What is the risk involved? Other countries that have had a more of a, maybe I should say less of a vaccine culture in getting vaccines. I have listened to some of those stories from people who are my age, which seems very odd, but they were not vaccinated. And they're like, listen, I ended up sterile from this disease, or I ended up, deaf in my right ear from uh, mumps or measles or whatever. And so they're like, I really wish my parents had gotten me vaccinated. And many of them have gone on to, as adults, choose to get like delayed vaccination where they're getting them now. And I mean, it's just, it, there
I
are
think it's
also,
just I think it's a harmful controversy that we're
yes,
seeing right now. And I think that there's such a misunderstanding about how retroactive studies work.
yes,
And especially what people don't understand too, like, and you can, if there is some maternal fetal like passage of
mm-hmm,
immunity, that is great, but it only works if the mother has had the disease and survived it, right?
mm-hmm,
So you're not getting multi-generational, at least not in any like sound research that I've seen. You're not going to get any multi-generational type of immunity, and you're especially
no,
not going to be protected against a de novo virus that has never been present in the
no,
population before.
no, no. That is the
So
lack of
so
basic understanding of how viruses and bacterial strains work and mutate. And that's how they survive.
yeah, yeah, and so it's like, yes, you can get some immunity that way, but whether or not that immunity lasts, when it's undetectable in the bloodstream,
Right.
because sometimes you can be vaccinated for something like, my daughter's going through that right now. She had her MMR vaccines when she was a child, and right now she's not showing that she has any rubella. You know,
Yeah.
IgG floating around in there. So it's kind of that's an interesting thing, and I do think that for some people their body just reacts differently, and you have to decide whether or not that's something that you want to do. And like I said, I'm perfectly fine with personal choice. What I'm not fine with is spreading all of this fear and craziness
Right.
on every platform possible, and then hating on people if they choose something different than what you've
Right.
decided to do. And
Right.
or just like we saw in COVID, people not wanting the vaccine but also not wanting to
Wear
try
a
to
mask.
do
Do
any
anything
kind
to
of
prevent
basic.
the transmission and spread. Yeah.
Sure. And I think too that also what people don't understand is that in a de novo situation like we were having in COVID, we don't know anything, right? So
Mm-mm.
everything we're learning is on
Is
the
on the
fly.
fly. Mm-hmm.
So we can
Scary as
only
hell.
recommend,
Scary as
we can
hell.
only right. We can only recommend the most accessible like intervention. And
Mm-hmm.
and that's all we've got. And we also have to think about when we are giving out interventions to the public of things they can do to be safe. We also have to think about the accessibility of those things,
Yes.
you know,
Yes.
and whether or not the regular person, working a job at the grocery store has access to those kinds of things. So
Yes.
I don't know. That's just me.
No, I think those are. That's
I've
okay.
been really upset about that this week.
Well, I think I will say one of the things that really boggles my mind the most, or just pretty much stops me dead in my tracks and almost leaves me speechless, which is hard to do, is patients will ask me a question about vaccines, medicine, over the counter, anything that has to do, with drugs or things like that. They will ask me a question. I will give them the answer, and then they want to argue because the commercial about such and such, or their friend Jerry at the coffee shop, or whatever, fill in the blank, told them this. And I finally have just gotten to the point where I'm like, well, you can decide who you want to believe. Like, I've got no ulterior motive in telling you the truth that I know, that I've learned, and if that truth is wrong, I'm sorry. It's not on purpose, clearly. I mean, we both work very hard to keep up on medical things, to stay in the know so that we can provide patients with the most up to date information. Like, we're actually, listen, there's practitioners out there that don't, and I get it. They're burnt out, they're tired, they don't do that. But Heather and I both really try to stay up on what is happening in the world of medicine and medical care. And so I'm going to provide them the best information that I've got. And then they don't want it. And I'm like, well, why did you freaking ask me? If you don't want to hear me say to you that turmeric is not going to take the place of this drug that we're giving you, don't ask me. I'm going to tell you the truth about it.
Well, and I think too that like what most people don't understand is that like okay, so I have rheumatoid arthritis. That's one of the many gifts of 2025 that I've received.
True.
And you would not believe the amount of people who are like, oh, just take turmeric. Okay, but here's the thing about natural remedies that a lot of people don't understand is that the advantage of science is that we have this thing called dose modulation, where we can take a component and figure out what the appropriate dosage is to treat a certain thing that you need to treat, right?
Right.
And I mean, turmeric does help in the body with
Sure.
inflammation. And
Sure.
if you just have your granny's general osteoarthritis, that
It's worth
turmeric
a
may
shot.
help you.
Worth a shot.
If you have an autoimmune disease where your body is attacking your joints and your tissues, that turmeric is not going to do shit for you.
No.
And to pretend that only not that all that the medical community is just fleecing you and trying to
Mm-mm.
make money off of you, and I'm still waiting for my kickbacks. Like, where's my kickbacks? Because like everybody's telling me, oh, nurses and doctors and pharmacists, I get paid to do these things, and I'm just like, well, shit, where's my check? I wish I got paid to do these things. I ain't got
Not
nothing, you
not in
know.
the way you think, people. Not in the way you think.
It's like not like that.
No,
Now, was there a
that's not
time
how it works.
period when pharmaceutical companies were allowed
Yeah,
to do more of that kind of stuff?
yes.
Absolutely there was.
That was
But that's
25,
not the
30 years
case.
ago. That's not the
Yeah,
case anymore.
and I mean,
You will go to jail if you do that
yeah.
stuff now. Like,
When I left UAMS, we weren't even allowed to have like drug company paraphernalia. Like we couldn't have a pen with like
they are allowed,
Zymox on it, or
so they are
you
only
weren't allowed
allowed,
to have.
no, they are only allowed to bring food if they are providing education. End of story.
Yes,
So, like, they
yes,
can bring lunch, they can bring donuts, they can bring breakfast tacos, whatever, but only if they're providing education at the same time they're having the food accessible to the staff. That's it, y'all. If anybody's getting anything else, if they're going on trips or whatever, I'm not telling you to turn them in, but somebody's going to turn them in because that's fraud and it's a big deal with the federal government. And I have seen people go to jail over, like literally, people I know have gone to jail, federal prison over it, and have been fined millions and millions of dollars. So it's not a thing. Um, so yeah, that doesn't happen anymore. We don't get paid that way.
there you go.
There you
I'm
go.
done now.
You're done. I will say that when I wrote us a note that we probably do need to one day have a little like shortened version of the difference between side effects and allergies and like really serious adverse effects. That is not an all in, like that's not one thing. Those are, there's there's variations, and that's like a staircase, you know. I get phone calls about that kind of stuff all the time as well. Like somebody wanting to know if this is a, they don't even say side effect. They'll call and tell me they're allergic, and I have to say, tell me what's going on. I don't ever give them the information.
Right.
I say, you tell me why
Yeah.
you think that, you know.
It's really
And
insane. And
they'll go, my arm is really
yeah,
red and it hurts, and I feel a little lightheaded and I'm nauseous. And I'm like, okay, those are all side effects. Anything else going on? Having trouble breathing? And they're like, no, no trouble breathing. Okay. Are your lips swollen? No. Do we have a rash? No. Okay. Those are side effects, not an allergic response. Those are two very, and I think that's important, but we'll get in that another day. Like I made us a little note because I see that all the time. And I think that those are falsely reported, way over reported. And the problem with that is then we are barred from giving you drugs that you may need because you think you're allergic and you're not.
right. Well, and I mean, and do I agree that there is a way that we could probably figure out like which people are more prone to what kind of reactions? But you know what that takes? That takes like a full DNA genetic profile.
Yes.
And if you think that your United Healthcare insurance that doesn't want to pay for you to have an MRI is going to pay for every single baby born to have a full genetic DNA profile, you're crazy.
And quite frankly, I don't know that I would want my infant's genetic profile available because health information is no longer secure in the United States.
Right.
And
Yeah.
so even if they offered it to you for free, and I'm not saying don't have a DNA test done or any genetic profiling done, because we have had that done at my house. It's been incredibly beneficial in some ways. But my children are much older, and it was with their permission, like they were in on the decision. But if any, I would have very real concerns if any insurance company started offering all of their customers free genetic testing or genetic testing for their new infants or children, because I can promise you that data is going to be sold like immediately. As soon before you know what's going on with yourself or your child, that data is going to be used to make money for that company, which circles back to greed. And I feel like your information should be yours. We don't need Henrietta Lacks situations continuing to occur, and they are in healthcare, which is another topic we can talk about. But your information needs
Yeah.
to be your own. So, yeah. So we're going to write that down too. Henrietta Lacks. And I'm not laughing at her. She was amazing. God bless her. But what happened to her was a travesty. And medical
Yeah, that
travesty.
book,
Okay.
I feel like that book,
Woo!
the Life of
The
Henrietta
immortal,
Lacks, I feel like
yeah, the
is a
immortal
book
life
that
of Henrietta
every
Lacks. Yes.
researcher.
Yes. Yes.
Every
Yes.
researcher needs to read that. It
Yes.
definitely addresses all kinds of ethical issues. And,
Yes.
and that also comes down to just because we can doesn't mean we should. And
Yes.
and so
Yes.
there's all kinds of like ethical lines that need to be drawn before we can go forward a
Yes.
lot of times with
Yes.
these kinds of genetic types of research. And then, like, I don't know, like I said, the Henrietta Lacks, we could probably do a whole
Yes.
series on
Yeah, we could.
the
We
things
might
that
need to have
came from that.
we might need to have a book club from time to time. Like not all the time because we don't have time for that. But like
Yeah.
really that's a very important book for not just medical history, but for American history, African American
Mm-hmm.
history. Like that story needs to be told forever. Her story needs to be told, and what happened to her and what has happened to her children since then needs to be known about because it's horrific, is what it is. So yeah. Okay. Last one. You good with that? We'll do our last one. Ready?
Last one. Go ahead. Ready.
Bad hygiene. I hate it when people have bad hygiene. I said it. I said it. So growing up, my grandmother had this statement, which is not completely true anymore. I realize this. But she used to say, soap is cheap and water is free. Now, I realize water is not free for everybody, but you can get some soap at the 5 quarter store and find some water. I don't understand the not bathing, the not washing hair, the general, like, I don't understand it. If you don't have access to facilities, that's one thing. But I know for a fact these people I'm thinking about have access to facilities because I know them. And it I don't I don't understand.
I used to ride the bus to work. I loved riding the bus to work. It was amazing. I had a whole hour where I could knit or listen to music or read a book or whatever to and
Or
from
smell
work.
the person next to
And
you.
and I would be late because there were 3 buses. There were only 3 buses that went from Jacksonville to Little Rock. And if I missed the first bus, I would be late to work because there was no way I was going to ride that second bus because the second bus in Gravel Ridge picked up this dude who smelled so bad that, like, the whole bus would be gagging.
I don't understand it.
And you want to know
I
where
don't.
he worked? In the kitchen
Probably
at the
not.
Capitol Hotel.
What? What? Somebody needed to have a courageous conversation with him. Have you ever heard? That's a term that my company uses. Is or the company that I work for, they'll go, no, we need to have a courageous conversation about this. And that falls under there as like hygiene because it is hard to talk about to people. And I know like raising kids, raising kids, they all seem to go through this period of time where they don't want to bathe. They don't understand why they have to bathe every day. And it's a whole thing. And I have boys and one of them is not very outdoorsy. I still make him take, but the other one is very outdoorsy, and he just cannot understand why I make him bathe every day. And I'm like, because you smell. And he gets so offended. And I'm like, you run and you play and you sweat and you go to the bathroom and it's 1,000 degrees where we live and you stink. You smell badly. And other people don't want to be like ugh, it is a fight. It is a fight. But having said that, I want to just point out to some of you listeners who have older parents, y'all need to be checking on their hygiene. And let me just clue you into this. I don't know if it is because many times they get up and they don't have to go anywhere all day. And so in their mind, again, like I didn't sweat, so I don't stink, so I'm not dirty. I don't know because these are people I've known or I have known people my entire life. So I've known them when they were in their 50s and now I know them and they're not, like there's decades of knowing these people and this is not their norm, right? And they are coming to the store not in the manner they would normally come. So I don't know if it's dementia. Because you can't always see that when they come to the pharmacy or the store, because they're sort of like in their persona at that point. They're having a good day or they wouldn't be there regardless. Or if it's just like, well, I've been home for 3 days and I haven't done anything but get up and go to bed and watch TV. So I'm not dirty. I'm like, y'all need to check on your Meemaw and your papaws and stuff, because I have gone to give shots to people who had more than enough money than you could have, had more money than I will ever have, and their arm was dirty when I cleaned it with an alcohol swab. That shouldn't happen. That should not happen. That tells me we have a problem with hygiene. And so I really like, check on your people that you love, and you may have to ask some tough questions, like, when's the last. The other thing is they'll stop washing their clothes. Well, I just wore it for one day, and then they'll hang it back in their closet, and they don't know how many times they've worn it. Again, maybe it's dementia, maybe they just lose track of their days. I don't know, but their clothes smell, and that's weird, because these again are not people that would normally. So check on your people. You might have to do a little snoopy snoop in their closet and check and make sure their clothes are clean and that they're bathing on a regular basis. And if they're not, is it because they can't remember? Is it because they don't think they need to? Or I've seen situations where they could no longer get in the bathtub and they didn't have a walk-in shower. And so they were worried about falling. And so then they were trying to bathe in the sink. That's not good enough either. So, like, you're going to have to maybe ask some hard questions.
For sure. For sure.
I
Yeah.
hate
I
bad hygiene.
definitely. Yeah. Yeah. And definitely when you work in the professional setting with people who have poor hygiene, and sometimes it's cultural, like, and it's very uncomfortable to have to pull those people aside and be like, hey, here we wear deodorant to work. It's a courtesy. Like, please.
Right,
Um,
right. Yeah,
Sometimes there is a cultural component to that.
yeah,
Um,
there is.
and,
There is. I mean, if you
but
travel at all, which I know you have as well, but I know, like, when I traveled to other countries, that is just not a thing. It's not that they, like, choose not to wear it. It's not even available there.
right,
So,
right.
like, you don't even have, you may have trouble finding lotion, just body lotion there. So soap is the basic minimum of what they have, and maybe shampoo, maybe. And so when you have individuals from that environment or those cultures coming here, like, they don't know, like, deodorant.
Yeah,
What do you mean deodorant? Like, they just don't know, because it is not a thing there. So
right.
I know when I was in country, that was really tough for me, because I mean, I readily accepted that was the situation, because I'm in their home country, I'm in their environment, so I have to adapt to them, not the other way around. But as someone who that really bothers, it was tough. And I can just tell you,
Yeah,
like, the minute you get off the plane, the smell of everything just assaults you. And it's just
yes.
quite, plus I have a nose. Like, I really have a nose for things, unfortunately. My husband says I can smell the trash from the driveway when it's inside in the kitchen. So it's like, and I don't mean to be that way. Like, I'm just like, that trash needs to go out. And literally everybody in the house thinks I'm nuts. And so I'm like, whatever. But yeah, so that was tough. But that's not my country. That's not my home. Like, and I understood that. And so I just, you know, but especially in a medical setting, I could see how you would have to have those conversations, because they're going to be working with patients who are going to assume they're not clean people, and that may not be the case. It may just be that they don't wear deodorant, because they just don't. And again, it's hot as hell here all the time. It feels like hot and humid.
For sure, for sure.
Yeah. So I don't like bad hygiene. It's not cool. Mm-mm. And thankfully, I'm married to a man who
So is that our
somehow.
last one?
That's it. That's it for today. No, we have more. We could go forever, really, couldn't we? I think that can be our last one. Yeah. All right. So I guess our next episode we will follow up with the second half of deconstruction. Does that sound good? Yep.
Sounds good
We
to
just
me.
Yeah, we decided to take a little break because that was a heavy episode. That was a
Yes.
tough one, which I think we both did very well. I have listened to us and we did good, but that doesn't make it less hard.
True. Very true.
All right, so I guess my assignment is I have to make us some T-shirts that say "Make America Care Again." Is that right? I wrote it down.
Make
Is that
America
your?
care again.
Yes. Okay. So you can look forward to that. I don't know. We'll see what I can come up with. We'll figure it out. All right, Heather. It was great talking to you, talking with you, and I hope you feel better.
It's always.
No more catastrophes. You're done. You've reached your limit.
I mean, I'm really going to try to keep it low key.
Love it.
It's a little wild around here sometimes.
Well, it's supposed to be wild
All
for
right.
the animals. Bye, babe. Talk to you later.
All right. Bye.